now, assuming that I'm a mother, I'm breastfeeding exclusively, and then I come back, and then my child's birth weight has tripled in 6 months, but I'm not giving them any supplements. Should I be worried as a mother?
If it is an excessive increase, yes, you should be worried.
Wait a minute. I thought that BCG is given to pregnant mothers. Is it also given to children?
No, BCG is for TB.
Oh, okay. Hi there, welcome to yet another episode of Purely Candid. So in today's episode, we shall be talking about early childhood development and everything a modern day parent has to know about raising children in terms of their health. So we are graced with the presence of a very renowned pediatrician, Dr. Venice Omona. You're welcome, doctor. I have to give the titles for the audience. You're welcome, doctor.
Thank you very much, and thank you, ladies, for having me for this episode of Purely Candid. Thank you.
Perfect. So, if we can look back at how we were raised, I think the way our parents raised us and child health has evolved a lot over time.
And parenting as well.
Exactly, parenting as well. Before, I think other than immunization, what was really monumental in terms of like child health, if you are to recall, I know you're not a child, but as they were raising maybe your younger siblings, you were of age, what other than immunization and
malaria, probably. I think those main illnesses. Malaria, of course, immunization like you talked about, and then of course going to school and making sure you don't get knocked down by a random car or something like that.
Well, that's for those who happen to grow up around the time when
weather occurs.
Yes, but first I'm honored to be here today. Early childhood, if you are to look at it in the past, yes, there were the aspects of immunization, which you highlighted, which is also not something that has always been there. Okay. It's something that we got along the way. But in the past, I think most of parenting was related to aspects of nutrition. Things like breastfeeding has always been championed from way back.
And our mothers, I think, breastfed exclusively. Exactly. We didn't have really supplements at that time.
Exactly. So the aspects of breastfeeding and nutrition generally, but also there are aspects of how the children would turn out socially. Okay, because in the past they would say children are always raised by the community or the society.
Yes.
Okay, so there was that aspect of a social interaction, and they would start instilling that in you from a younger age. Okay, the other thing is about responsibilities, because even before education came, parenting has always been there.
Okay, so in this modern day parenting, what are the developmental milestones that parents, and of course the primary caregiver of a child is usually a mother, or at least we assume that. So what do mothers have to look out for in this modern society?
So not even in just the modern society, what is expected naturally is, as a child, you're supposed to over time transition into an adult. Okay. So there is the aspect of physical growth and then development. And development focuses mainly on how you become independent, an independent, self-sustaining individual. Whereas growth will look at your body changes. So your weight, your height, maybe size of your head, and all these other things. Okay. So growth looks at the physical changes, from when you're a baby to an adult. Whereas development looks mostly at the brain.
Okay.
How do you move from this person who is totally reliant on someone else to this person who's going to be like independent, and like you're taking care of yourself, you're able to make like critical decisions that will affect you, but can also affect like the people around you. And then the other thing is about like also how you relate with others. That's a part of development. So when you talk about the milestones, usually the focus is on those developmental stages. Okay,
so let's break it down, because you talked of the physical, the mental or intellectual, and then growth.
Growth.
So now the physical one, if a baby is born, let us assume between 0 to 2 years or to 6 months, like what should a mother look out for so that they are not worried that maybe my child is not healthy?
So in terms of the physical growth, one of the things that you expect is as the child grows, the weight has got to increase. Okay, so you're born today, you're probably 3 kilograms. At 6 months, you're expected to be maybe 5 or factors, depending on the number of
you should have
factors.
At least doubled.
Okay, so there has to be.
Is there a standard like amount of weight any baby must have?
Well, there are what we call, when we talk of growth, we talk of usually growth velocity. So we take let's say your weight today.
Your birth weight, or
it could be like your birth weight, or it could be the weight at first contacts. Let's say with like a facility where like this can be taken, and then usually that's one of measurement will not be informative enough. So what we look at is what we call like a growth velocity. So if we took today, in July, then let's say 6 months from now you come back, we take, and then we calculate how much you have gained in terms of weight.
Okay, so explain that to a mother who does not know all these scientific things.
So for the mother, it's going to be difficult for them to know this the precise increment in the weight. But there are things that can help you. For example, when a child is born, the child is supposed to be immunized. Okay. So the recommendation is every time you take this child for immunization, the next immunization they have to take the weight. And on the child health card, which tracks the immunization status, there is a growth curve, which tells you my child is growing normally, is growing excessively, above what is normal, or is below. Okay, so every time this mother takes this child, brings this child to the hospital, they're supposed to take the weight and plot it on that curve.
So now you have told by a professional that if I come today and then I come again after 2 months, am I told that this is normal or this is not normal?
So, exactly. So what typically happens is when a child is born, there are certain vaccines that they're supposed to get. Okay, so for example, they're supposed to get BCG and the first polio vaccine, and currently a new addition, the hepatitis B
wait
vaccine.
A minute, I thought that BCG is given to pregnant mothers. Is it also given to children?
No, BCG is for TB. And it's
okay.
It's the DPT which is given to it.
Okay.
I mean the tetanus.
Okay.
A shot which is given to the mothers, the pregnant mothers, or women of childbearing age.
Okay.
So when that happens, they are asked to come back at 6 weeks. That is 1 month and a half. Okay. So from that time when they come back, they'll take the weight again, and they'll be able to tell if it's increasing appropriately, or it's below what is expected. After that, they'll come back again at 2.5 months. Okay, that's 10 weeks, and then at 3.5, that's 14 weeks. So every
single time they come, it's plotted.
they're supposed to plot. So
the parent is the one supposed to plot, or it's done by the health.
So the healthcare worker who is going to take the weight is supposed to enter the weight on that chart, and then at the end of the day they can plot the curve and see how whether it's following what is expected, it is more than what is expected, okay, because that can also be another problem, okay, or it's below. Okay. So if it is more than what is expected, you're thinking maybe this is overnutrition. Your body, this child is going to be overweight and probably with a goal to obesity.
Yes. My question is, what is overnutrition for a mother who is breastfeeding exclusively?
For a mother who is breastfeeding exclusively, it's usually not so much of a worry at that point, because one, the breast milk contains basically all the essential nutrients that this baby needs. Okay, so at that point, you're not worried. You don't want to limit her because this child has got to grow.
Okay, so Dr. Venice, if at all I came, because I read somewhere, and of course the internet has a lot of information, they said that the birth weight of the child has to double by 6 months. Now, assuming that I'm a mother, I'm breastfeeding exclusively, and then I come back, and then my child's birth weight has tripled in 6 months, but I'm not giving them any supplements. Should I be worried as a mother?
If it is an excessive increase, yes, you should be worried. In that
what
case,
could be the cause?
So one, it could be that if you're exclusively breastfeeding, there could be some other, problems, like, which are hormonal related. Okay. A child could be having like a chromosomal abnormality. Okay. So there could be like, so every time like you think it is too much, that is a point when you need to like, get in touch with your pediatrician, for example. They'll tell you, the first child I delivered was 4 kilograms. This one was 4.5. Like, then you ask, like, how is the dad? The dad is like, so like there are also like those other genetics. But during the breastfeeding period, really, like, the cause for alarm in that case is not supposed to be like, so much. Okay, because like I said, the breast milk contains like, all the essential nutrients are in proportionally like accepted levels. Okay, so the worry is not supposed to be so much. But also when it comes to like growth and development, it's not like one size fits all. Okay, we can be born today, two of us, we are both boys. Okay, we are the same birth weight. Okay, at 6 months I'll be like 8, the other one is 6. There are a lot of other factors that you have to like consider as well. So it's not like you should immediately like make a conclusion. There are other things that you need to explore.
Okay, is it advisable for a mother to, at any point, if the child is becoming obese and they're still exclusively breastfeeding, that they should be restrained from breast milk a little bit and give it in moderation?
No.
That is not advisable?
No.
Okay, so that one is now on the birth weight. Now another physical thing which a lot of us see in children is that that breathing. What is it called? You feel as if the head is like it's very soft and it's breathing and something. Now, at what point should it go? And in like what? Because mothers are usually very scared, especially a new mother who doesn't have experience, and this is their first child. They can't even wash their baby because they're so scared, it's gonna go in and this and that. So my question is, at what age or at how many months should it disappear? And in case it is beyond that period, should a mother be alarmed? And is it so fragile that, if a mother touches, then now, it will cause mental damage or something to a mother? Should new parents be worried about that?
Yeah, before you answer that, I was also thinking, because in some cultures, they also like massage kids and try to shape their bones.
Oh, yes.
Are those things that are also encouraged from a medical perspective?
Well, starting with the head. So the head is composed of several different separate bones. Okay, so in the newborn period, like these bones are joined thinly, because as the baby is coming out, the shape will have to change to adapt to the birth canal. So like it gets out, like the baby is able to like maneuver and get out. Okay, now,
so how about babies who have relatively big heads? Is that also shaped? Like how does that come about?
Well, we shall get into that. So what happens is that as this baby like grows, okay, the bones are going to like become like firmer, harder, and like the lines that join them are going to fuse. Okay. Now that part that seems to be breathing in the medical term or the anatomical description is a fontanel. Fontanel. And there are majorly two. There's one here which is called the anterior fontanel, which is the bigger one. In a way, it's more of a diamond shape. Okay. Because there are like 4 bones which are like in
a diamond shape. Okay.
Yes. And then there is another smaller one at the back of the head. So usually the bones, like I mentioned earlier, they have those like loose like connections, because like one of the things that you expect is that for you to develop, okay, development per se is a function of like the brain growing. Okay, so as the brain grows, like it's supposed to be accommodated. Okay, now in a child where like these bones will fuse early, okay, prematurely, okay, it's going to restrict their brain growth. Okay, it's going to restrict their brain growth, and that will become a problem. Okay,
what do you mean the bones fuse? Because you're using medical terms now.
Okay.
Yeah.
Form a strong bond.
So like as I told you earlier, so the skull is composed of like a number of different bonds.
Yes.
Okay. And these bonds are connected. Okay. But during the early, during that early childhood or infancy and all that, that connection between like let's say one bone and the other is fairly a loose one, so that it's able to accommodate the expansion as the brain is growing. Like it's also like okay.
It expands.
It's supposed to so that it accommodate like the growing brain.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
So in the event that for example, because this, like you mentioned earlier, it's supposed to close by 1.5 years. Okay, by 1.5 years. That's when this is supposed to close.
1.5 years.
Yes, 1.5 years. Okay.
So is it harmful if there's any injury or pressure applied in the infancy stage?
In the infancy stage, I don't think you should apply any pressure there.
I mean, if it happens maybe by mistake or something.
If it happens accidentally, yes, because like that part is devoid of bone. Okay. That means like it can get a penetrating injury as well. Okay, so you need to like obviously you need to protect it. Okay, it's able to move because like specifically that area does not have a bone at that point.
A bone covering it.
Yeah, a bone covering it. That's why like it's able to do that. But also like the other thing is it also helps to tell you if there is a problem. Okay, for example, if a child gets an infection that involves the brain, what in medical term we call meningitis, because of like the swelling that happens in there's going to be a buildup of pressure, and sometimes this is going to bulge. So every time like that you see like this bulging, they will tell you what there is a problem. You need to seek medical care urgently, because if it's an infection like meningitis, you want to start treatment promptly so that you protect this brain. Because I believe every parent wants their children to grow to responsible adults.
Yeah.
So you don't want anything that is going to interfere like with the brain like growth and development. So that like they're able to like do that. Yeah.
So you're saying that that part, the fontanelle, disappears or it's covered at the age of 1.5 years. Like, are you saying that part keeps on beating and breathing up to 1.5 years?
Not necessarily, because as they grow, the size becomes smaller. So as it becomes smaller, it becomes less obvious. Like that pulsation becomes like less obvious. So
at what age does it like almost disappear? Whereby I'm not saying like a physical pulse on that area.
The physical pulse, it will vary. It will vary. That's why like usually like by 18 months, that's 1.5 years. For some children, it will close at about 2 years. Okay. Right? It will close at about 2 years. But what you need to know is like as they grow, the size becomes smaller and smaller, and the pulsation becomes less and less like obvious as it gets smaller.
Okay, so another physical one is the child's height.
Yes.
At what rate should a child
is it even an important metric? There's some short.
Exactly.
No, because there's sometimes when I gave birth and my child is let's say is a meter too long. It's too long. Is let's say 170 centimeters. Yeah. And then
that's a very tall.
That's a tall.
Okay, 50 centimeters. Is 50 fair?
Yeah. So a normal baby who is delivered at the 9 months. Okay. Ideally should be 50 centimeters. Okay.
So what happens if at all a year later the baby is 52 centimeters?
Then you might start thinking of a problem. Okay. But also like she said, like all these things like it's you need to take into consideration a number of factors. It could be genetics if both parents are short. The entire generation, everyone is short, and then like they say the fruits don't fall far from the tree.
From the tree. Yeah. However, why?
But usually, if they are growing normally by about 1 year, they should be about 75, centimeters and all that. The rate at which they will grow subsequently, it requires a lot more details, which may not like suit the scope of this sitting.
Yeah.
Okay. But there are a number of things that you need to consider. Okay. So like genetics, you need to consider environment as well. But also you need to remember that like when it comes to like growth, especially like the height. It's in a pulsatile manner. So there are periods when it seems not to be increasing. Then again, like, for example, when someone is about to hit like puberty, like there's that growth spot. Someone who was short, then all of a sudden, boom. Okay. The other things like physical activities, like the children who tend to be more physically active, they're outdoors and all that, tend to grow like taller. Like,
so in other words, for us new mothers who are currently raising children in these small condos and the child is restricted, it can affect a child's physical.
Exactly. You see, like your height sometimes like it's also a function of like the bone growth. And one of the things that you need for the bones to grow in a healthy manner is vitamin D. And we know one of the cheapest sources, like is outside there. So like if your child is always inside,
video
the
games,
apartment, watching TV, playing video games, then goes to a school where there are no sports grounds, they're always in class, they come back in the evening. Obviously, like they're deprived of this, and sometimes, like, they're likely probably not going to meet like their potential.
So is it the physical activity or is it the vitamin D?
It's a bit of both, a bit of both,
So the question of the massaging of
the bones and everything.
Does it have an impact? Does it shape someone's body?
Well, what we are practicing now is the modern day medicine. And children did not start getting born only when modern medicine came. Okay. So yes, there are practices that have been around like for very long. Okay. And it's very difficult to change people's mindset so that they leave them completely. Okay. All I can say is that some of them are quite harmful. Okay, some of them are quite harmful. So things like chogero. In practice, I've seen I think like two babies who came and the skin was all like burnt and all these things.
Nadia, what is a chogero?
To answer your question, a chogero, it's one of the things done mostly in the central Uganda. They mix a couple of herbs and they use that to
massage the skin.
Yeah, to bathe.
Oh, to bathe the children. Oh, okay.
So like there are all those things like So earlier on you mentioned things like the naming ceremony. So there are things that like people do. Yes. So it's very difficult to change, to take that away from them completely. So there are things that they will do, but for us, we are only going to, when we are giving recommendations, okay, when we look at the evidence, okay, from studies, from research, those are the things that we try to recommend. One of the things that the harmful practices that has cost a lot of lives of babies is how they care for this cord when the baby is born. Okay, people would apply all sorts of things. They put ash, they put cow dung, they put soothe, so many things. And because of that, babies are getting tetanus. And when a baby gets tetanus at that age, the chance that they're going to die is so high because one, there are very few facilities that can take care of them, so that they can pull through.
Okay.
So yes, some of the practices are there, and we discourage them. We try as much as possible to discourage them, but people will still there are people who are so much attached to their
culture
and tradition that sometimes it's a bit difficult. Okay. So sometimes you need to look for some common ground. Okay. But if it has shown some proven harmful effects, you need to clearly spell it out to them. Of course, the babies are with you from the time they are born, but after that they go back home, and sometimes there is a lot of undue influence from the grandmothers and all these things, because they are raised their kids, and their kids are now you
that,
and the father.
We're now the new adults.
Yes, and they're going to tell you what? But these are the things I did for the father and years now. So why not? So you have all these things that you need to contend with.
Okay.
Yeah.
So before we move on to the next, I think we should also touch on speech as a developmental milestone.
So the milestones, back to the milestones. So there are majorly 5 domains, okay, of the developmental milestones. Okay. There's what we call the gross motor. Okay. So gross motor is basically the function of the large muscle groups, your hand, your trunk, your legs, and all that. So these are the things like, that are supposed to propel you from one place to another. They're supposed to help you be physical and you execute like some of the physical things. Okay. Now, there's what is expected for a baby, let's say, who is 6 months. For example, a baby who is 6 months should be able to like, if they are lying down, okay, you put them on their tummy, they should be able to like lift their chest and the head up.
And the head
okay?
up and hold it.
Okay. If like they are lying on the back and you try to lift them, they're supposed to control their heads. Okay. But if the head is like remaining, the body is coming, then there is a problem. Okay. If the baby lies down and cannot turn to one side, for example. Okay. If the baby is, for example, 2 years, you expect this baby to be able to walk. Independently. Okay. So if the baby is not able to walk, there is a problem. Okay. So like those are some like those are like the gross like motor aspects of it. Then there's the fine, the little things that you're supposed to maneuver. So the smaller muscles. For example, you're able to write.
Yeah.
You're supposed to eat using a fork. Okay. You're supposed to draw. Okay. Those are like the fine like things. Okay.
Okay.
So for example, a younger baby who let's say is 4, 5 months, 6 months. When they're holding things, they're going to hold like with everything, like with their
they
palm.
grab it really tight.
Okay.
Yeah.
But then like as they grow, like they start they'll be able to pick.
Yeah.
Like they pick only that. Okay. Okay. So those are like the finer like motor activities, like that is part of like these developmental milestones, and they're supposed to like evolve over time. For example, someone over time will be able to like if you drew a box, they'll copy and draw that. If you drew like a triangle, they should be able to like copy.
So
and
at
draw
what
that.
age
does
that?
So usually there are like stages also. For example, if a child is let's say 2 years, they should be able to hold a pen and like try to like scribble something.
Yeah.
Okay. So a child who is let's say 3 years, if you drew like a box, they should copy that.
Yeah.
Okay. So like it changes also with the
over
age.
time.
Okay. So the other aspect is about speech and language.
Yes.
Okay. That is the other aspect of this developmental milestone. For example, if a baby, let's say a baby who is 3 months, 4 months, they make some sounds. Okay, you're not able to like pick exactly what it is, but they are like you can hear like some noise. Somewhere okay. And then like as they grow about 10, 11 months, like when you say they also will copy like okay, like they're able to like do that.
At what point like, do they start identifying the mother's voice?
They start actually quite early. Usually by about 6 months they can.
Okay. Is it voice or is it just they sense your
presence? So no, there's an aspect of like hearing in this as well, because like for example, even a newborn baby, if you bang something, they will startle.
Yes.
That means like okay,
they can hear.
Okay. So as they grow like by about 4 or 5 months, like they hear a voice, they're probably going to try to turn towards that. Okay. And as they grow, sometimes like they're able to recognize this one here is like a household member, and this one here is a bit strange. So they develop some level of stranger anxiety. If they see like
they start crying,
they start crying, like they start pulling
and go to like a familiar person.
Familiar face. So like these are some of the things that okay. So there's that aspect of speech and language that they should. For example, a child who is about 1.5 years to 2 years, they should be able to like mention some things, ask for some things. They may not be able to join like all the words, but like if they want maybe food, they can mention food. If they've seen the father, they can call Baba. They can call like Mama. Like if like you tell them no, they'll understand like that this is like okay. But if by that time, like they are not, for example, a child is 1.5 years, like you try to like shout, tell them no, they're not responding, or like you come back home, they don't even like they don't recognize like your presence. They continue. If they are playing, the other side like continues.
Is that
a red flag?
That's a red flag. Okay. Because this child should like the moment like they see you've seen like this is my mother, like they're supposed to be excited like to see
is
you.
It
okay,
a developmental thing, or is it the fact that maybe the parent is
an attachment style kind of?
Right.
It is like the parenting can play a role to it, but also like you need to start thinking of like a worst case scenario.
Yeah.
Okay. Especially if you're coming home at the same time every day. But like they just don't like when you're going to leave, they don't even cry after you.
Wow.
There is a problem. Okay.
People think that their kids are just used.
So sometimes
independent.
Sometimes when you have scenarios where you're my kid is too peaceful, it might be a red flag. For example, a newborn baby who is just sleepy at all times, you have to only wake him or her up to feed. That is a red flag. Usually you need to start worrying. Okay.
So by 6 months, the child has to start making some noise.
Yeah, they should be making some noise even when they're alone. They're supposed to be able to make some noise. Okay? And usually when you bring such a child to us, we would give you an allowance of 3 months. Let's see what will happen in the next 3 months, because we said it varies. Not everyone it's supposed to act exactly that. Okay. Sometimes it could be an environmental factor. Okay. The child is just with the parents. People are really quiet, most of the time.
They're always on their
not
phones.
stimulated. Okay. And then another one is in a noisy environment and okay. So sometimes it has to do with that. That's why we give you some allowance.
Okay.
And then by about 1 year, this is a child, like I mentioned earlier, you should be able to recognize this is mommy and call maybe mama and dada and all these things okay. They're not yet able to join the words, but they can mention some of these things and even someone who is seeing this child for the first time can be able to actually is calling the mother. Okay. And then usually by about 1.5, okay, this is a child who should be able to mention some things very clearly. Okay, if it's water, you can say it's water, or I've seen let's say a cup. Can say this is
a cup.
A cup, okay.
Yeah.
They may not be able to still form sentences, okay, but they know names of certain things, okay. And I also mentioned earlier, this by this time, if you tell this child no, they should be able to understand, what
you mean no.
Yeah.
This
so
is not
they
supposed
don't
to
throw
be.
a tantrum or whatever.
Okay. Tantrums is really another thing altogether. It can happen. Yeah, sometimes some children have terrible temperaments. They can throw a massive temper tantrums and all that. Okay. And then a child, for example, who is 2.5 years, by 2.5 years, this child is supposed to be able to at least make a 3-word sentence. Okay? If they want water, they should be able to give me water or give me food. They should
whatever language.
In whichever language they are brought up in. Okay? They should be able to do that. Okay? And even that one, usually you expect that by about 2.5 years, but you can also give another allowance of about 6 months, because I said, even the environment, has to do with all these things. Now, when there are any delays, okay, it might be because the child is having issues in the brain, but sometimes it's just hearing. Okay.
Does that mean maybe
because
they have a problem with their hearing?
Exactly, yes. Okay. Because speech has a lot to do with hearing as well. Okay. You have to be able to receive because we learn from what is happening. So if you're not able to hear, then probably
your speech will also be affected.
Okay, I think you must have watched. I think there was a very famous movie of this kid who was raised in the jungle. In the jungle was with the apes and all that. Okay, because he couldn't talk because these animals.
The monkeys and he's making the sounds of the monkeys.
So yes, the environment has a very it's very important. But sometimes yes, there could be an issue in the brain, or the child is just not able to hear.
So I have a friend of mine that has a child who is 2 years old, but this child cannot recognize their name. I call you Nadia, and they don't do anything. Should she be worried as a mother?
At 2 years, yes, she should. Okay, she should. Either this child is not able to hear, or this child is actually showing early signs of autism. Okay. Okay, because autism impairs social interaction and speech as well. Okay,
so meaning delayed speech could also be tagged to something more serious.
Yes. Okay, so it could be as a result of a neurodevelopmental problem. But like I mentioned earlier, it could be because of the environment. So because there are no other people who are the environment is all quiet and all that, or is just not able to hear. Okay, so this child you call and they're not turning. they need to like study and like see the pattern. How does this child like behave generally? Okay, because at 2 years, this a child who is supposed to be able to play with other children should be able to like play pretend. Okay, they see a doll, they know like a doll is like a baby. Okay, they should be like but if you got this child and like what they're doing, like they get the doll and they're like
banging it down,
or like you get for a boy, for example, a toy car. He just comes and pulls out the tire, and that is the only thing like he's interested in.
But I think kids do that a lot.
Okay.
Like boys at this
when they're throwing tantrums, yes.
Toys
but if every time you bring a toy they're banging it down, then I think that there is a problem.
So like if like their attention is only fixed on one part of that toy, then you need to start like getting worried, okay? Because a toy car is supposed to move, a car is supposed to move, okay? But if like all they want like just come like maybe like pick the tire and leave the car there, like they're not interested in anything else. You need to like okay. So like you expect them to like explore, like they know like you've seen the car moves, it should like okay, like a baby like pretend to feed the baby. But if like they're getting this toy doll and
pulling the head off,
like, you need to if like they don't like there are other children similar age like but this one like stands the back doing their own thing. Like those are some like the red flags that you should be like worried about. You come back home as the mother, they don't even acknowledge like your arrival. They're not bothered. You're leaving for work in the morning, like you're even trying to like but they don't care. Okay, those are some like the red flags that you should be thinking about. So yes, some of them it could be as serious as like autism. Okay. And usually it's called autism spectrum disorder because like it's really ranges from like mild affliction to like very severe. Then comes the other aspect, the domain of speech and language, which we have like talked about. The other one is about cognition. Like over time you're supposed to be able to like solve problems, make critical decisions. Okay, and all these things like is all a function of the brain. And these are milestones that a child should learn like as like progressively, as like they go. Then the other one is about social interaction. Okay, social interaction. Children are supposed to learn to relate. Okay, they're supposed to learn to relate. Okay,
play, all that is part of social interaction.
Like a social interaction. Are you able to play with other children your age? Are you able to share? If they say it's so and so's turn, they're supposed to learn to accept that it's not my turn, it's for the other person, and they give, and then you wait for your turn. Okay, those are like all like social interaction, are all part of like the brain function, and these are milestones that a child is supposed to like achieve like as they grow. Now the other thing about it is I'm supposed to know to recognize that she is hurt. Okay.
Like the empathy kind
of. And I'm able to like, maybe I'm the one who hurts her and apologize. Okay. And these are things that, you learn. Okay.
Is it taught? It's like part of the nurturing that a parent does.
It's a bit of that. It's a bit of the environment, but also it could be a neurodevelopmental problem. For example, we highlighted, for example, issues of it with people with autism. An autistic person does not have that emotional intelligence to recognize that
you're hurt.
Okay, maybe I should give you like your space, and like or if I'm the one who has hurt you, I should apologize. Okay. So I'll come and do anything to you, and like even when I see you crying, I don't care. Okay, like they move on, like go about their business. They don't care how you feel, like they're not able to read that. Okay, they are not able to like know like okay, if let's say we have gone out to a restaurant, you've made friends, like interact, like have chats and all that, like to them sometimes like like it's none of my business, like you do you like I'm not like okay. I don't know if you guys have watched this series, The Good Doctor.
Yes, Dr. Sean.
Okay. So this is a guy who is like he is
high
a
IQ.
Genius.
He's a genius, but
social interaction zero. Like, so that's like a typical like these people with autism.
Not the same as Sheldon in
No.
Big Bang.
Sheldon has a he
watched
also behaves like
But then I think he has better social skills. Dr. Sean just like hides, like he doesn't talk, he's but he's a genius, like a real genius.
He doesn't know like you come to check like he doesn't
he
know
doesn't,
this
he doesn't
thing,
even
like
know.
small talks like good morning, how was the night? He doesn't like
Engage.
so like he's not able to like
he doesn't empathize as well.
Yes. So
if you're dying tomorrow, he'll just come and tell you, Nadia, you have this, you're dying tomorrow. He doesn't know how to.
I've never watched that.
So like this, so they are the ones like they don't like they are not for reading the room like like they'll tell you things the way they see it. Okay, they'll tell the way they see. They don't read like okay, what this I'm doing is it going to like hurt so and so's feeling for them like like they're not okay. So that's the other aspect.
Okay.
So like development. When you talk about the developmental milestones, you're basically looking at like the brain function, how this brain moves from like doing some things primitively to doing them consciously after like you've thought it. Okay. For example, a newborn baby you put the breast in the mouth, they'll start sucking immediately.
Exactly.
No one has got to teach them. So that's like a primitive like things like then like the moment they come out like it will like it happens for their survival. But some of the other things that you're supposed to protect them, usually someone else has got to do it. Now, as you grow older, like your brain should be able to like say, okay, this is fire. If I touch, I'm going to get burnt. So, okay. So like so that's all like functions of like the brain.
I want us to move on to the part of nutrition. I will just hint on the do's and don'ts. We see a lot of parents, mostly the middle-income parents, over pampering. Okay, I think it's pampering, but maybe it's not pampering to them. KFC is their bread and breakfast. So all these things that parents feel,
cookies, cake,
they're trying to make up for the life they did have,
and
they think they're doing their children justice.
Yes, they think it's actually a good thing. And then all of a sudden, the kids are overweight, and they don't understand why, because there are some of them who introduce it and try to stop it at some point, and then it doesn't stop. Or is it also healthy for a child to go on a diet? Because there's some kids who are just extremely, and we have seen parents.
I was an extreme tiny child, the malnourished looking children.
Yeah, those ones, skeleton looking ones. Exactly. And then there are some parents who actually want to put their children on a diet. So regarding nutrition, let's actually start from 0 years as we proceed.
Just do's and don'ts so we can progress to the next part.
Basically, when it comes to nutrition, it's one of the most important aspects of everyone's of growth and development. So it's important for the physical growth, so all these changes we're talking about, the weight, the height and all these things, but it's also very important for the brain. So the development aspect also is so dependent on what? Proper nutrition. So the recommendation is that a baby from birth should be put on exclusive breast milk. Okay, up to 6 months.
Okay.
In the past, they used to say exclusive breastfeeding, but nowadays things are changing. You have working mothers, maternity leave is very short, so you can actually express. Okay, and this milk can you leave it behind and you go to work and they continue with that.
Does the breast milk have to be refrigerated? If you express?
Yes, you can refrigerate it, yes.
Okay.
You can refrigerate it. So, exclusive breastfeeding should happen up to 6 months, okay? Now, the rationale is that, for the first 6 months of life, this breast milk contains all the nutrients that this baby needs to grow and develop within that period, okay? Now, from 6 months, that's when you're supposed to start introducing other feeds. Okay, because by that time, okay, what is contained in the breast milk can now not be able to adequately sustain growth and development. That's why you need to add now more. And then also, some of the nutrients that are in this breast milk are in amounts that are not adequate enough, okay, for this growing child. And that's why the recommendation, you start introducing them from 6 months.
So how about mothers who want to exclusively breastfeed up to 2 years, thinking that they are the better mothers? Oh, my child, has to have only breast milk, and a child is 2 years and a child is still taking exclusively breast milk.
Okay, so exclusive breastfeeding means you're not giving anything. You're not giving water, you're not giving juice, you're not giving... The only other thing that you're giving to this child apart from breast milk is medicine. But they say exclusive breastfeeding up to 6 months. Then from 6 months, you introduce other feeds on top of the breast milk. And then you can continue breastfeeding concurrently with the other feeds now up to about 2 years. So that is the recommendation.
So it can't be exclusive for 2 years.
No,
maybe we will not survive.
It will not be.
It will get malnourished.
Yeah, maybe even get malnourished. Sure.
Okay.
Yeah.
So what happens to children whose unfortunately the parents die, the mother die, and then they're being raised by a grandmother who does not have money for formula?
That is a very difficult reality.
Is cow milk bad for them?
Yes, cow milk in the infancy period has got its disadvantages.
Infancy, you mean how long?
Infancy is from birth to 1 year. Okay, those are infants. Okay, so it's not because there are some proteins in this cow's milk that are not easily absorbed. Okay, I mean, in simple terms, cow's milk is meant for the calves, not human babies. Okay, so the composition suits the calves, but it's not suitable for humans.
Human baby.
Okay, for the human baby. One, because of some of those proteins, because they're in higher concentration, sometimes they interfere with the absorption of some of the other essential nutrients that this baby is supposed to get. Okay, that is one. The other thing is that there are children who develop allergies to some of the proteins. Cow's milk protein allergy. Okay, so there are certain proteins that they'll develop allergic reaction to. So we find these are the babies who sometimes after feeding they are vomiting. They're always crying because the tummy is hurting and all that. Sometimes they have anemia because that. Sometimes they bleed. Iron. Okay, and
they bleed.
Yes, they bleed small bleeds that you cannot see with your naked eyes.
On the skin?
No, from the intestines. Okay, from the intestine. And then sometimes because of some of those the calcium and some of the other proteins which are very high in cow's milk, they're not able to absorb iron adequately. Okay, so they tend to have low levels of iron. So they have iron deficiency anemia. Okay. So you have all these dangers. Now, in some situations, what we recommend is that this cow's milk, if you're going to give, if you are really your hands are tied, somehow you have to dilute it a bit. Okay, but that is also it's a very comprehensive thing that probably not we can't cover in this setting. So that you make it at least more tolerable. Okay, but it's supposed to be really a last resort. It's supposed to be a last resort.
So in a nutshell, a baby under 1 year, do not introduce them to
you can, if you're going to give it in moderation. Give small amounts. Your focus should be giving them continue with breastfeeding, and then try to give them more nutrition dense feeds which are easier to absorb. Okay, so sometimes you can give people can start in simple terms. When you're introducing them, usually what they say is you need to try to introduce them to what is readily available. Okay. Usually we get blinded and someone just comes and tells you eat a balanced diet. Your balanced diet may not be the same as mine. Okay, may not be the same as hers because in my home maybe I have beans and posho. But you may have you're able to get fish, you're able to get chicken, you're able to get okay. So you need to know where they're coming from. What are they able to get? Okay, what are they able to get? Okay, and then you target your recommendation basing on what they can be able to afford. Otherwise, if you just tell them give them this, not all of them can. Some people will say give cereal. How many mothers can afford that? Okay, so you need to know where they're coming from and what they can be able to get, and then you can sit and try to modify in such a way that they have fairly good proportion of what is going to be valuable for them.
So I'm not answering the question of what alternative is there to breast milk.
Yes, because
if I don't have formula,
like, can I give solid food at 1 year?
Yeah.
Yes.
So 6 months. I mean, before 6 months.
Okay. Yes. So at 6 months plus, I think is where now you can.
So you can
before
start
6 months.
Before 6 months. Before 6 months, you can give formula. But also the other thing is, are able to afford it.
That's what I'm saying. What is if I can't afford?
There is no other
formula,
alternative.
So that has to be.
So you have to either give formula, the ones which have been prepared, like for the infants, or alternative you've said is cow's milk. In which case, someone has got to teach you how to dilute it such that it's at a concentration which this baby's intestines and stomach can be able to to manage. Okay, you cannot give a 3-month-old solid food. You cannot give a 3-month-old porridge. Okay, porridge is all carbohydrates, nothing else. Okay.
Some milk.
Okay. Well, if you've added milk to it, yes. But if somebody say porridge, people know porridge as you get your maize flour, mix it with hot water, maybe add some sugar. That is it.
Yeah. So now, after 6 months, as you are introducing the other foods, what are those other foods? Can you give the solid foods, or it should be, I don't know, like liquid, like orange?
It can be it can be semi-solid, it can be, you can add other liquids as well. So semi-solid can be you can have mashed potatoes. Okay. You can have things you can also blend some of the other foods. Okay. You need to make it because at 6 months, not all of them have the teeth to chew, and they also don't know how to chew at that point. So you need something that they can easily take in. So you're not going to give a drumstick to a 6 months old.
They can suck on it.
Kids like the drumstick,
drumstick and whatever. They love it so much.
Yeah. So that's so you need to introduce them to things which are they can easily maneuver it in their mouth and swallow without causing any problem. And also the other recommendation is get them used to one before you move to the next. Okay. Because sometimes we introduce them to so many things at the same time. Yeah. And they get confused. Okay. Oh. Okay. Because because ordinarily
they don't like this, you give them this.
Because ordinarily for a child to get used to a specific food, you have to expose them from between 10 to 15 times to that one. So one of the other mistakes that we make is we withdraw these things prematurely. You've given today, they are not taken. You give tomorrow, they are not taking. Now let me move to the next. But be patient.
So you have
the kid is going hungry and you're there
to maintain the same food.
We are going to pardon?
You have to maintain the same food.
Yeah, you're going to give that. The thing is, you're not going to give them only that. You're still at this point, this child is still breastfeeding. Okay, you're going to try to on top of the breast milk, you're going to be exposing them to this. Okay, you want them to get used to it. Yeah. Before
you win them.
Before you
introduce another one.
Winning is that what you do now at that 6 months when you introduce other food. Some people mistake winning for stopping breastfeeding. No, they are not the same.
Oh.
Okay. So winning is this baby was exclusively breastfeeding. Now you're introducing other feeds to on top of the breast milk. So you're winning them now to the other foods on top of the breast milk. So it's very different from stopping breastfeeding. Okay.
So let's do do's and don'ts.
Yeah, so
the baby is not a baby anymore.
So some of the common ones we already mentioned, do not withdraw the food prematurely. You need to expose them over time so that they get used to it. The other thing is some parents you've given this, so the child is not taking, you resort to giving them snacks and
juice.
Gorillos, soda, what?
Those things, one, are highly processed. They do not have as much healthy nutrients as possible. But your children are very interesting. You give them the little, they feel full. So if you give the juice, even this little, now, then in the next 30 minutes you want to give them food, they are going to refuse your food. So you rather give them that food, let them eat the little they are going to eat, and then afterwards you can give them, or if they now refuse to take the juice because they feel full, they are not losing much because they refuse the juice. After all, they have gotten like, you know what?
They're healthy.
They're healthy.
Yeah.
So if they have taken little, the only thing you can do is like, you know, give small, but you give it frequently. Don't expect the child to have like, you know, breakfast, lunch, dinner like you and I. You can't do that. Okay, that means like each sitting they should have adequately. But remember, like, you know, they're probably going to like, they're going to eat like 5 spoons and then like, you know, that is enough.
How about mothers who beat their children who don't like to
That's the other thing. That is another don't. Okay,
eating.
so you're not supposed to like actually force them to. Okay.
But what happens if they don't have an appetite at all? It's a bit worrying for
See,
them.
like someone said that, you know, if a child doesn't have appetite for your beans, then they should not also have appetite for chocolate.
Yeah.
Now, what some people do is when their child has refused beans, then they bribe like, okay, I'll give you chocolate, then you go, or like I'll give you juice. Like, no, you're actually doing more harm than good. If they're not hungry for your beef or your whatever, then they're not supposed to be hungry for anything else. That means they're not hungry.
Wow.
Okay, so those are some of the things that they don't like, you know, and then just you don't need to bribe them. Like, if you finish this, I'll give you like, you know, maybe chocolate. I'll give you juice.
Those are incentives that should motivate the child.
Yes,
Over time, you see, like, you know, the children will tend to get hooked to the sweet things very fast. Like, you know, somehow like, you know, we're all born with that
So that's
in
the
us.
reward.
Like, you know,
It becomes like
okay.
a reward thing.
But remember, like, the more sugar you're giving, like, the higher the risk of this child becoming overweight and all that. So you need to like, you know, be very okay. The other thing about the other thing that some people do is serving the kids too much food.
What is too much food?
A child is a child. If you're going to give a child food, serve this child in a plate that is proportionately sized to that child. Don't give this child in a big plate because all of us are eating in big plates. Like you also like they get overwhelmed and like, you know.
They zone out.
Like, you know, yeah, there's one because like they're looking at all these things.
It's overwhelming.
But then
like,
you can eat and leave the other.
Oh no, you give them like in a smaller plate, like with them, like let them like, you know, okay. And then the other thing is like, you know, which a lot of us grew up like through. Adults eat from here, you guys eat from where?
Corner.
Somewhere like outside.
No, because they are messy.
They're messy, yeah.
No, that's the other thing that I'm going to talk about. Like, you know, why are you forcing them to be like, you know, tidy when they're eating? Part of eating is like, you're supposed to export all your different senses to this food.
But now, who's gonna clean up after them?
I'll be triggered already.
But accept it, like, you know, like let them play with this food. In the process, they're actually eating. If you're going to beat them because like they are smeared, they are like, you know, you're actually causing more problem because they're going to start associating eating with punishment or someone like you're shouting at them. So what next? You avoid food because you don't want to be messy. Because when you get messy, like it's a problem. So you don't like, you know, let them soil like, you know, their bodies. They're like, you know, afterwards let them go and play. Then now you can shower them and like, you know, okay, like you know, let the eating be fun for them. Don't make it like, you know, a chore that you know they have to like, you know, go through. Okay, so like these are some of the things that you know. And then like I talked about like they're eating the other side for your eating here, like you know, set like an example for them. Okay, if the child sees you eating these veggies, they see you eating your bowl, they're gonna eat it.
They'll also okay.
But if you're also like for
they
you also,
learn by
even you like you're separating some of the things like you know,
you're
like
picking out the tomatoes from your plate.
You're putting aside.
Yeah,
they're going to do exactly the same thing.
But they actually learn by seeing.
They're going to do exactly the same thing. When they see like you're enjoying like you know everything,
they'll also enjoy everything.
They're going to enjoy everything. So there are a number of like some of those things that you know like sometimes we do thinking like we're actually helping them, but we're actually like doing more harm.
Yeah.
Okay. The highly processed food is the biggest problem. Like you know because when you were growing up you didn't have all these fancy gorillas and all these things. Now like you know you want your children to get the best.
Yeah. Ice cream.
The best.
Yeah.
So do's and don'ts for parents in terms of feeding, like, because I feel like most parents feel like that's what they should be giving their children to show that they love them, that they are parenting.
So like for the ones who are going to like view this, it's not something that you should do. Okay, because the other thing is like you know children also like we've talked about how they learn from others and all these things. So today you're in Kampala. You can afford gorillas, you can afford KFC, Then something happens and you don't have that money anymore. But your children are conditioned to eating those things. What next?
Don't you adapt? Same as we have all adapted.
For you, we will. Okay.
Yeah.
For you, for you today, like you'll be separating. Like you don't want the onions, you don't want the tomatoes from your plate and all that, because the day these things are not there, the meat side is not there, you will eat because you know, like, I have to live. For them, they don't know. Like for them, they know this is the order of the day. This is how things should be. Okay. But the worry is that only and only if you notice, for example, like, your child is not growing appropriately, your child is not gaining weight appropriately, okay, then that's when you should worry, like, about like how they're eating and all these things. But if, like, you think like the child is a fuzzy eater, only wants to eat little, but then the child's weight is okay, the child is growing okay, that means whatever they're getting from the little they're taking is actually enough.
It's enough, yeah.
So you should not be like a worry, because like most of the time, like, we are too worried, like, for nothing. We are too worried for nothing. The child is like growing like a really typical 5-year-old.
And they're active.
And they're active. They're doing all these things. So it's okay. That means, like, whatever little they are, like, the nutrient part of it is actually like enough to sustain them, like, Okay.
So how about the kids who are like Nadia, very skinny, and they don't want to eat? How do you help a parent with that now?
If that is the case, you think the child is not growing up or gaining weight appropriately, you have to explore a number of factors, obviously. Sometimes, like, is how, like, it could be genetics, yes, that's why
Ask all of us what time.
Okay. It could also be because, like, whatever you're giving is not nutritious enough. Okay, it also could be because of, like, how, like, the whole environment is during the feeding time, because you have made it seem like, eating is supposed to be like a job, and all this. So you need to explore all those things before, like, you can. I know sometimes, like, people will tell you, like, now my child is not eating, I want multivitamin. And
is that a bad thing?
And to the common people, multivitamin is called, right? They call it an appetite booster.
To boost the child's appetite.
But usually those things don't boost appetite necessarily. Those things were meant for people who are very sick, and during their illnesses they're not able to eat adequately. So they're not taking in, like, these adequate nutrients.
Right,
so now you have to add for them, like, this, with the hope that once they get better, they're going to come back to their normal selves and they start eating and getting these things. But, like,
that's why it's called a supplement, no?
So yeah, they're supplements, yes. So right now, like, most times, like, people think, like, when you give multivitamin, the appetite is automatically going to...
So, in other words, it does not even increase the child's appetite.
Most times, once they recover from that illness that they had at that point, the appetite is going to come back slowly. During illness, like, your appetite, like, dips. That is expected.
Yeah.
And as you recover, the appetite also, like, comes back. Okay. So all you need to do is, like, be patient. Give them the little, give them as frequently as possible. These small amounts will accumulate into something.
So now the frequency, how do I know that I'm not over or underfeeding the child? I'm giving it, yes, in the right portion, but maybe after every 30 minutes I'm giving it. Then a child eats like almost like eight times a day. Is that so? What is not over and what is not under?
Over would, to me, I would say it in the child, not in what you're giving.
Okay.
If the child is probably, like, becoming overweight,
and then the under,
then like it means, like, this child is probably giving too much. Okay. And if the child is, like, underweight, either, like, what you're giving is deficient in terms of, like, the quality or also the quantity. Because sometimes it's just not too much, but sometimes you're giving too much, but then, like, the wrong things.
Yeah.
So you're giving, like, cassava for breakfast, cassava for lunch, cassava for dinner. Even if you give a full plate of cassava,
porridge, a whole flask of porridge.
Yeah, whole flask of porridge.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, like, it could be, like, if they're either, like, it could be, like, in terms of quality, it's deficient, or, like, the quantity in itself, because of so many factors. Yeah. So that is basically some of the things that you need to reflect on when it comes to nutrition.
All right. So if we are to talk about child health, we shall probably talk until the cow comes home. Dr. Venice, thank you very much for your time. To our audience, we have tried to give it justice. There's so much to cover, but please give us, your feedback and your questions. We shall be having Dr. Venice responds to any concerns, any clarifications, or any questions that you may be having regarding child health and just child growth. So if something is worrying you and maybe you think is something that should be addressed in the medical way, please send us your comments. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. And until next time.